Hello, comrades. Oleg Pinkovsky here. Criminality in this game is very hard to understand, and you are watching the wrong video.
What the fuck
If
are you doing
came
over
to
here in
learn
my
about
workroom?
it- No, wait. I can explain.
Yeah, I don't quite deal with criminals, I just shoot them. Oh hey, comrades. The Honeybadger here. Sorry about that. I was just cleaning the criminality on my republic. Thankfully, Peter, the game developer, helped me understand it directly from the game's codebase. Now, after 8 email exchanges and a bleeding criminal on the floor, I can now explain how it works to you. God damn it, Oleg. You even forgot to put the damn music on. Ah, much better. Anyway, here's the topics. And remember, down below, you also got the chapters. If you want to skip to any of them, I won't judge you. When does a citizen commit a crime? When a citizen's criminality increases. What are the 3 crime types? And how long does it take to investigate each crime type? How do you calculate the investigation power of your police officers and court officers? How do you detect when you need more police officers or court officers? Does having max amount of police cars in your police station affect the game whatsoever? Prisons and orphanages. What does resulting upbringing mean? For each crime, how much sentence time do you actually need? What can you do with your prisoners? So, let's start with the first topic. Based on the code given by Peter, the following formula is used to calculate the possibility of a criminality. As we can see from the comments, firstly, the workers will do crimes only in buildings. They cannot do it whilst walking, traveling in a vehicle, or getting off a vehicle. Secondly, there are 3 variables at play here. Current criminality level, which is between 0 and 100%, alcohol satisfaction, again 0 to 100, and loyalty of your citizen, which is also 0 to 100. Think of this as the chance of a citizen to be angry enough to consider doing a crime, not to actually commit the crime straight away. You're gonna understand it after I give some examples, so let's just do that right now and see if alcohol and loyalty actually play a name in this game or not. First scenario. Let's assume that criminality is at 0% and alcohol is at 0%. Also, loyalty is maxed up to 100%. It's a utopia, I know, but in this scenario, your chance of someone thinking about doing a crime is 7.5%. This is for an utopia. Basically, even in an utopia, the people are considering stabbing each other. Second scenario, still a utopia-ish, criminality 0%, alcohol 100%, loyalty 100%. In this case, you got 17.5% chance that someone thinks about doing a crime. So if you have alcohol at 100%, this simply increases the chance for someone to think about the crime by 10%. It's not that big of a deal. You're gonna see why in the next scenario. Let's go with the third scenario. Sort of something you would actually encounter in your playthroughs, where you don't use alcohol, for example. Criminality at 0, alcohol at 0, loyalty at 25%. Well, in this case, there's an 11.25% chance someone will think about committing a crime. Looks like having low loyalty is almost doubling the chances. Not that big of a deal again. Now let's take the fourth scenario. Let's assume that criminality is at 5%, alcohol is at 0, and loyalty is at 30%. Well, in this case, the final chance is actually 711%. Yes, you heard me right. Over 700% chance that someone really thinks about stabbing someone. Hard to believe? Well, yeah, I also doubted myself, so I asked Peter. And he confirmed that it's actually True. Okay, well, if we're gonna just use this piece of code, that means that everyone is gonna stab everyone when criminality is above 5%. Is that correct? Well, not quite. It just means again that he's thinking about stabbing someone, not actually doing it. This is because, after all, these chances are calculated, and then the following code kicks in. Basically, this code is the actual one that decides if the citizen will produce a crime or he's just gonna drop down and just continue working normally like a loyal citizen. Now, this is where the heavy math begins. If you're too scared to watch it, then skip ahead a minute, since I will just explain a single scenario so you understand how the code works. Starting off, let's assume that criminality is at 60%. Starting off, there is the float A chance. Basically, this was the chance of the citizen thinking of a crime. Let's see, where is it used? It's used on the fourth if. Basically, if A chance is between 0 and 100%, there's a chance that the citizen will do nothing. If it's above 100%, or 1.0 in this case, they are guaranteed to think about doing a crime. Now, as mentioned, crime level is 0.6. Now, crime level light is 2. Because of this, only the second if condition is true. Therefore, crime level light becomes 0. Now, crime level heavy will remain at 0, as stated. Now let's calculate the crime level medium. Crime level /0.5 is 1.2. Since the second if condition is true, then crime level heavy becomes 0.2 and crime level medium becomes 0.8. Now let's see the square roots of square roots. And now the chances for light, medium and heavy crimes together with their random values. Basically, these random values are actually picking one in a certain number. So for example, for random val light crime, it will be 1 in 5,000. For medium crime is 1 in 583. For heavy crime is 1 in 6,661. Basically, this represents the actual true chance for your citizen to commit the real crime, be it light, medium or heavy. It can only commit one of these three. So when you're gonna see the example after I show the table, think it will commit one of the three, not all three at once. Here's the table. You might wonder how I managed to create it. Well, the above function, I took it and ran it in C++ to get the values for different criminality levels. Then I made them as percentages. So, how to read the table? Well, let's assume your republic has 1,000 citizens. Then, at 0% criminality, 0.2 citizens out of these 1,000 will commit a light crime, or 0.1 citizens will commit a medium crime, or 0.1 citizens will commit a heavy crime. This is a very low number, so it doesn't make sense for you to start building the police station and the court and the prison and orphanage in the first year you're inviting your citizens. Basically, just wait a little bit. Let's see, at 50% criminality, you're gonna have 0.8 citizens that will commit a light crime, or 20 citizens that will commit a medium crime, or 0.1 citizens that will commit a heavy crime. Still not that bad. Clearly, you will have a surge in medium crimes, but it's manageable. Same scenario, 100% criminality. In this case, 0.2 citizens will commit a light crime, or 0.1 citizens will commit a medium crime, Or the most popular, 20 citizens will commit a heavy crime. Now, this is very bad to have 20 citizens committing heavy crimes. It will actually transform your republic in a free-for-all Alcatraz instead of a great nation. Also, you might ask yourself, what's the difference between light, medium and heavy crimes? Well, once we get to discuss the three types of crimes, you are going to want to make sure your citizens will only commit low crimes as much as possible. But firstly, let's discuss something else. When a citizen's criminality increases. Oh boy. To be honest, Peter shared almost 2,000 lines of code. I tried as much as possible hand-banging my glasses on the screen, hoping that I will understand it. But I can only speculate that a citizen's criminality increases when he does a crime or when he witnesses someone doing a crime. Afterwards, his criminality will only decrease either if the criminal is put in jail, or if the criminal escapes, then the general population's criminality will rise. I'm not 100% on this one. I'm not gonna show the code here because it will take a long time to explain and I don't have that time. You just need to trust me on this, since, yeah, the entire code has over 2,000 lines of code and the video would take around 4 hours to explain, and I really don't want to do it. Just remember that criminality will always be a thing in your republic. Your job is to make sure you lock up criminals and keep them there enough for your republic to have low criminality. Just know that having a crime committed not only decreases happiness and loyalty by a percentage, but also decreases tourism, which might be your main income. Let's now actually discuss about the three types of crimes you're gonna have. Thankfully, these values are hard-coded and it will be very easy to understand them. Here they are. Now, what do they mean? Well, crime investigation duration days, it means the amount of days that the police will spend to investigate the crime. For example, for light crime, meaning crime 1, it's 5 days. Crime court duration days, it means that your court will spend 5 working days to completely investigate a light crime. Similar for medium and heavy crimes, it's 10 and 17 days in total. Now, I have shared one more thing in here. Crime limitation, crime days. This is a shared value between the police and the court itself. For example, a low crime needs a total of 10 working days to be processed, meaning police investigate and then court jumps the decision. But this can be delayed up to a maximum of 30 days in total, until the criminal escapes punishment. How much time it spends in the police versus how much time it spends in the court, it all depends on how many police officers and court officers you got, which we're going to discuss in the next topic. But anyway, similarly, for a medium crime, it needs a total of 20 working days to be investigated, but can be delayed up to 70 days. And for a heavy crime, well, 34 days to investigate and can be delayed up to a maximum of 120 days. Got it? Good. Let's move on how to calculate the investigation power of your police officers and court officers. This one is yet another weird-ass hefty computational logic that I can barely comprehend, but with Peter's help I managed to make it simple. Starting off, in-game you got the parameter called chance to solve. Basically, this is a buff that lowers its value the more the case is left uninvestigated. The higher this value is, the faster the investigation goes. Here's the code managing this. Basically, this one tells us that if a crime chance to solve is high, then the investigation time will decrease. In my case, since it's a medium crime, it will decrease from 10 days to something lower. Apart from this magical power, we also got worker productivity. And I saw it as a comment and I will trust it as it is. Based on this, it looks like productivity is equal to the number of workers times productivity percentage, which is based, you guessed it, on loyalty, happiness, and health. Also, a final piece of this puzzle, which will help us transition to the next topic, is the maximum cases a police and a court can handle at once. I found this buried very deep, and also it's hard-coded in the code. It looks like only 12 cases can be investigated at once by the police station or the court office. So, if you're checking one and you see more than 12 cases in it, then it's time to build a new police station or court office, depends where the cases are high. Now, let's move on to a clearer topic. How do you detect when you need more police officers or court officers in your republic? Well, to be honest, the investigation power we discussed above is a bit too volatile and too complex to make a precision guesswork on how many police officers and court officers you need. And it does not help that multiple cases share the same amount of investigation power between them. So if you got one case, it will receive the full investigation power and you can be done with it even in below one workday. But if you got 10 cases, then they each receive 10% of the investigation power equally and they will be delayed. Also, the max amount of cases you can investigate in a single police station or court office is 12. Therefore, I've came up with a less accurate logic, with the downside that it's almost right, but the upside that it's extremely simple to use. And also I got Peter to confirm it. Here's the table basically. So, how do you use this said table in your republic? Well, simply watch a police station. Let's say that you have a multitude of cases over here and you're watching a medium crime at the moment. Does this medium crime progress 10% in a single workday? Again, for those that don't know, the workday is over here at the top. Basically, it's this black bar that fills when you start progressing time. It represents 60 seconds of real life and at 1x speed. Now, let's see the investigation. As we can see, it's clearly progressing more than 10% in a single workday. It's actually gonna get finished before the workday is done. Similarly, do you have more than 12 cases over here? If yes, then you're gonna need to build another police station. Of course, I only discussed about medium crime. For light crime, it's 20% per day, and for heavy crimes, it's a minimum of 6% per day. This is completely identical when you are playing with the courts themselves. You're gonna notice the crime cases over here, check if they progress a minimum of 20, 10 or 6% per day. More simple than this, I cannot explain it. Moving on, does having a max amount of police cars in your police station really affect the game? Well, I've seen this topic online on other guides stating based on feel that you should only fill half of them or 2/3 of the police station with police cars. But it never explained why. It was always, trust me bro. Remember before how we talked about worker productivity? Well, if you got more cars, this means more crimes that need to be investigated in parallel. However, if you got less cars, that means less crimes needed to be investigated in parallel. But there's a downside. If you do not have a police car arriving at the crime scene in time, the criminal will get away and its criminality together with the people that witnessed that crime will increase. So how do you actually properly calculate the amount of police cars you need? Well, here's a police station. I have it filled with police cars. You can see that it has a total of 8 slots, but I only filled 5 of them. Why is that? Well, let's check over here at productivity. Average productivity is 102%. Basically, if it's below 100%, then go with less than half the amount of vehicles that you have. So 8, go with less than 4. If it's above 100%, then you can go with a higher value with absolutely no problems, maybe 5 or 6 vehicles. Like in my case over here, I got 5. If it's above 130 up to 150%, that it's the maximum you can have, then you can freely go with 8 vehicles with absolutely no problems. All of the cases will be fully handled by the police station. A similar thing happens when you are dealing with small police stations over here. You got 4 slots. If it's below 100, fill in only 2 of them. If it's above 100 productivity, fill 3 of them. If it's more than 130, fill all of the slots you have. Good, that's kind of all about this. And also, well, we discussed until now only courts and police stations. However, there are 2 more final steps before we can complete the criminality loop, namely the prison and the orphanage. Both work in a similar fashion, but they have different attributions. Basically, when a criminal is convicted, meaning after the police investigate the crime and then the court office manage to convict the criminal, in this case, the prisoner will be automatically teleported to a prison. What happens to the prisoner's children? Well, they get teleported to an orphanage. Sadly, I don't have an orphanage in my city. This is because of the good old-fashioned Reddit telling me that orphanages are bad for your citizens and it drops the amount of people. No, it does not drop it if you know what you're doing. Now I'm going to explain this for both prisoners and children in orphanages because they are identical. Look at the intended upbringing over here. Basically, you can set cultural enjoyment, Soviet propaganda, preference for alcohol, and the resulting upbringing level. Basically, this one is very important. You want your prisoners to exit the prison with 0% criminality, and as bonus points, maybe have them more loyal than they came into the prison. So play around with the values over here until you get the desired outcome. Make sure that the criminality lowering is as high as possible. You're gonna notice in the next topic why that's the case. But for now, lowering the Soviet propaganda will also lower the criminality but increase the other things. Anyway, one more thing to mention over here is the resulting upbringing level over here is per workday. So every single workday, this criminal will have its criminality drop by 5.30% and its loyalty increase by 2.67%. This is per workday, meaning 60 seconds in real life at 1x speed. Do not confuse it with the working shift of your workers. Now, this is a bit weird. Basically, the prison is working based on workdays, but the court officers can convict the crimes in years. Well, what's happening here? Why is this like this? Well, I did leave this topic to the last on purpose. at the courthouse, you can set the intended amount of time for your prisoners to spend in jail based on the crimes in years. Now, if these were actual in-game years, then theoretically, half of your republic will be in jail by the end of your 5th year. So, that's why it's time to present you another clock. This one is totally separate from the working schedule and totally separate from the workday. It's funny because it's another 60 multiplier for the actual workday. Yes, you heard me right. The third clock in game, used only for criminality, is actually another 60 multiplier. So, usually the minor crime over here is set to 1.6 years. When you're gonna start a new game, you're gonna see it as 1.6 years. Now, Peter explained in this email how it actually works. Basically, 1.6 years over here is actually equal to 10 working days times 60, which is actually 600 days. Now, if you take these 600 days and divide them by 30, that means 20 months. If you take these 20 months and divide them by 12, it's actually the 1.6 years that you see for a minor crime. This is extremely similar for a medium and heavy crime. It's identical. Now, let's see the formula on the screen. No. We can do it even more simple. Desired work days in prison times 0.166666. And basically this will give you the number of years you want your citizens to stay in jail. So how does this help and how do you figure it out? Well, let's spin this and bring up the prison again. In my prison, I have 5% criminality per workday being removed. Let's see, for medium crimes, do you remember the table? If not, I'll post it here right now. As we can see, the highest probability for a medium crime to be done is at 50% criminality. So in this case, we need to drop 50% criminality. This means that we're gonna need 10 workdays to be spent by the prisoner in prison. Now 10 times 0.166 is actually 1.6 years. So for the medium crimes, it's enough to drop it to 1.6 years. For the minor crime, well, based on the table, the minor crime has highest probability to occur at 30% criminality. So in this case, we're gonna spend 6 days in prison. This means 6 times 0.166 means 0.99999 years. So, for a minor crime, the sentence, I'll drop it to 0.9 years. If I can't, I'll leave it to 1.2 years. It seems like I cannot drop it even further. Now for the serious crime. Based on the table, we can see that the serious crime most often occur between 90 and 100% criminality. Therefore, 100/5% per day means 20 work days to spend in prison. Now these 20 work days multiplied by 0.16666 means 3.33 years in jail. So it's enough, 3.5 years in jail. Now this is a huge reduction from the actual default that you're having in the game. If you open the game right now, the default for heavy crime is 9.9 years, which is actually almost 60 work days in your community. And yeah, these are the actual values that you need to set in your courthouse based on the prison level. If your prison upbringing level is -5%, you directly use these values. If it's something different, then just use 30, 50, or 100% divided by whatever value you have times 1666. And you're gonna get the actual years that you need to spend in, your prisoners need to spend in your prison. And for the last thing I want to cover is I want to make sure that you get this right. The amount of years being stated in here is the amount of years your prisoner will age. So let's take this guy for example. At the moment, his age is 31 years. I don't know exactly for what crime he was convicted, but we can see over here he's spending 2.3 years in jail, so most likely it was a medium crime. The age of his returning in this society is 33.3 years. However, he will only spend somewhere around 20-ish days, 15 to 20 days in prison. So he will be freed somewhere around 19 to 25 June 2002, but his age will be 35. This is the actual reason why you need to lower the sentences, because the more prisoners you have in your prison means the more your prison will be overfilled and the higher age your population is when they exit the prison. You want young workers, not old ass workers that will just eat your money and die. Oh, by the way, one more thing I completely forgot to tell you about is how to use your prisoners. Basically, prisoners are slaves/workers. So go into your large customs house or build yourself a prison bus. After you have the said prison bus, simply create any line for it. Let's firstly move it to a depot. There we go. And now we can actually add a new stop. Go to our prison, select it as the first loading station, and then select one of your industries, any industry work. Be careful, you cannot select passenger stations, only industries directly. And afterwards, unload. Basically, what will happen is that this prison truck will go pick up the prisoners and deliver them to the industry that you have selected. This is a good way to use your prisoners to do your biddings. With everything explained, this kinda covers all you need to know about criminality in this game. This entire video took more than I expected to make, but I've managed it in the end. For now, if you wanna say a little thank you, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below. It can be just a thank you Peter comment or thank you Honeybadger, whatever. Basically, the YouTube algorithm works on comments and likes, and it will spread the video to more people interested. Also, please do share it on social media or with like-minded friends that need to see it. Until next time, I'm the Honeybadger and I am out.